Hello everyone, I'm Carly, and I've learned that you can't always believe book talk when they say that a book is good.
So true. And I'm Sam, and listen, is it still overrated if I like it?
And welcome to Read Receipts with Carly and Sam, our book-based podcast covering all the latest hits and some stories off the beaten path.
With a few fun and exclusive episodes mixed in between.
And once again, welcome back to the Summer of Love. Ooh!
That is my favorite bit that we've done during the
Yes.
Summer of Love. Just putting that out there.
Agreed.
I hope you guys like it as much as we do.
We love doing it, so I hope you love listening to it. So, since in our last off-the-shelf episode, we talked about all things underrated with regard to the romance genre, naturally our minds went to, okay, well, what do we think is overrated?
Of course, naturally. So, like Carly said in our last off-the-shelf episode, we talked about our underrated books, characters, tropes, things like that. And so now this time we're visiting overrated books, characters, and tropes, which obviously means that we are going to be diving in deep to why we feel like these things are overrated in the book community, which means there will be spoilers ahead. You've been warned.
So, similarly to last episode, we talked about, like you said, book, trope, character. Let's go ahead and start with book to get us started.
This one, I think, similarly to underrated. I don't remember if I said this last time in our last episode, that I was kind of torn between a couple things, that I was like, what is underrated? You know? Similarly with overrated, I feel like there are a lot of things that I do like, and like, is that still overrated if I liked it?
Right. I get what you mean.
You know? So
Like,
I had
is it
kind of like a
actually
similar,
overrated?
yeah, exactly. I had kind of like a similar but different problem. Same but different. You
Yeah.
get it. And then I also think, even more so than the underrated episode, I think with our overrated episode, there are going to be a lot more hot takes, if I'm being honest.
Yes, for sure.
So
I think so. Hopefully we don't make anyone too mad. These are just our opinions.
these are just our opinions.
We're just having a hee ha ha fun time.
Yes, it's just, you know,
know,
we're just girls. We're
If
just girls.
Just girls. It's not a big deal.
Fine.
We might still kind of like something, but also acknowledge that maybe it's a little overrated. You know?
It's okay.
Overrated doesn't necessarily mean bad.
Yes, and I do think we did end up getting to that point where we were like, okay, just because it's overrated doesn't mean it's bad. You know, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Something could be maybe a little overhyped, but still
Yes.
be good, just maybe not as good as everyone kind of makes it out to be.
Exactly. Speaking of, I will go ahead and go first with our overrated book. So, speaking of kind of being overhyped, I feel like when this book / like book series came out, there was a lot of publicity around it, and I think it's because this book actually started out as a fan fiction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in my middle school days, you know, when I'm like staying up late and my parents are like, go to bed, I was like on my phone reading fan fiction.
That's so funny.
Loved fan fiction. So this book and its like successors started out as a fan fiction based off of the very popular British boy band One Direction. Some of you may know what book series I'm already talking about, but it is the After series by Anna Todd. Have you heard of this?
I don't know if I have. I kind of want to look up what it looks like because now I'm curious.
Yeah. I will say, I think from what I remember, so I read it as fan fiction, right? Like that's how I was introduced into this series. So I haven't read it since. So I don't really know that much about the changes from it going from fan fiction into now like a published series, like traditionally published series. But from what I remember, the covers even kind of look like they did back in the day when I was like in middle school. Like it looks like something you would have just like made on like a like Microsoft Paint or like Canva or like just like something.
I can see that. That looks capable of being made in like PowerPoint or something like that.
Yes, exactly. Yes. It just like kind of looks like quintessential, like this is a book that you would have read, like a YA book in like middle school.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of like looks like that. And it definitely gave that vibe when I was in middle school reading it. But I remember the books were like, I mean, chapters long. They were really, really thick books. And they were about One Direction, this boy band. And it was like our main character, I don't remember if they were in a boy band in the book, I feel like they were just the boy band characters. Like they had the character names and the character personalities of the One Direction boy band, but they weren't in a band. They were all going to school.
Oh, okay.
So our main character,
ask, like, so what did they do if they weren't in a band?
Yes.
But that makes sense.
Yes. And that was like a lot of what the fan fiction was like back in the day. It was a lot of like these famous characters being put into like real life situations where they're like going to school, and then they meet obviously our female main character. And she's not like other girls, you know, and he's like super popular, maybe a little bit of an outcast, kind of a bad boy. That's really what you get with this. It's very like quintessential, traditional fan fiction of back in the day, if you can imagine that. And so it was obviously really popular at the time when it was fan fiction, and then being changed up a little bit to not be so much about like One Direction and those characters and those personalities into what it is now, where you have different character names, slightly different personalities. And now it's like a traditionally published book. And throughout that whole process, I think it kept up with the popularity, you know, because it started out being about One Direction. A lot of people were already fans of it. And then when it was released into traditional publishing, those same people like kind of followed along. And other people started following along as well, because it's like a new book series. And there's something, I mean, it's very like, it's YA, but it's also kind of dramatic, kind of hot. They did also end up making Netflix movies about it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it got decently big. But I have it as my overrated book because I do think that there was like a lot of hype surrounding it, especially once it got into more like popular media. It stopped being so much about One Direction to the point where a lot of people that I know that have like read it, the book, or seen it, the movie, don't even know that it was originally associated with the fan fiction that was originally about One Direction.
That's kind of surprising, because it does not surprise me that a book series related to One Direction would get as popular as it does. The One Direction people be wild.
Oh, they be wild.
So it is kind of funny that people would then still be interested.
Those are my people.
Yeah. It's surprising that people would be interested without knowing that connection.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming if it's a series that like each book is dedicated to a different member of One Direction?
So, no.
Oh.
Yeah. So it originally, our male main character was based off of Harry Styles.
Right. That makes sense.
Of course. Everybody loves Harry. Everybody loves a Harry moment. So it's mostly surrounding him and our female main character. And then the other like members of the One Direction boy band are kind of like best friends and like stepbrothers and like just like other characters in the book that play like decently big roles, but they're not the main love interest.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I have it as my overrated book because of obviously all of the hype that's surrounding it, but also because there is something, even though we really like it and we don't really know why, there is something kind of like a little bit toxic about these kind of relationships. Yeah. You know? Where I'm like, it's a little bit cheesy. It's also a little bit toxic. Like, don't talk to each other like that.
Yeah.
Like, don't be so possessive, Harry. My gosh.
That is so funny, because it's like something that would exist in fanfic. But then when we remove the fact that it's fanfic, it's just like, oh, well, this is just kind of weird now.
Then it's just kind of weird.
Which goes to show, maybe it was always weird.
Maybe it was always weird. But you kind of like fantasize, you know, it's fan fiction. It's a fantasy, right?
Yes.
But then when you make them real characters and like make it into this, like you put it into this world where like this is supposed to be something that could happen, it gets a little bit weird when he's a little bit more possessive of you, or maybe you break a glass and he sucks the blood off of your finger. You know?
Wait, which book are we talking about?
Call back if you listened to our last episode. So that's my overrated book.
So the one that I picked, I don't have a physical copy of, is Love Light Farms by B.K. Boris. And I
hadn't heard of this one.
Maybe you would recognize the cover. It looks like this, where like it's two people clearly like kind of kissing, but then there's like mistletoe hiding their faces.
I feel like that's a classic.
Right. There's so many book covers that do that, where two people, especially there's kind of like a continuation of this particular world. Yeah. Where they all kind of look like that. So the first book I read was not actually Love Light Farms from this Love Light world.
Yeah.
It was Mixed Feelings, I think is what it was called. And I already didn't really love that book, so I don't know why I bothered. I think, it was because it was Christmas time, and this is a Christmas-themed book. It's about...
Sure, you were like, I mean...
Yeah, it's like, it's the season.
'Tis the season.
Yeah, I'm like, well, maybe I should have read the first one. And I still, like, kind of liked it okay, the other book that I read. I just didn't love it.
Yeah.
This one in particular, I was just like, did anything happen?
Yeah.
So there's a few things I feel like going against it. Obviously, for one, I feel like for the most part, nothing crazy really happens.
Sure.
I feel like it's a lot of kind of talking about things and not really doing things.
Yeah.
And this is one that I listened to, so like sometimes I wasn't always paying attention the most, but I also kind of felt like I didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
If I wasn't paying attention.
Well, and we talked about how we don't like books where nothing really happens, so...
Yes, unfortunately, I'm finding that out that I am a very plot specific girl. I think also because there were so many other things about the romance that was frustrating that it also kind of sabotaged those things.
Yeah.
For instance, the sort of book trope involved in this is a friends to lovers. So,
Okay.
already not like a super well-loved trope.
Yeah.
I have read friends to lovers books that I've liked. Because of that, I kind of was like, whenever I read the description, I was like, okay, friends to lovers, I think I can get behind friends to lovers. Also, a fake dating trope. Love it.
Okay, we love fake dating.
Yes. So I was like, okay, I like where this is going. The girl, she just acquired a Christmas tree farm.
Classic.
And they like need money, and so she enters a contest, and so the fake dating comes because whenever she entered the contest, she thought that it would help her chances if she said that she owned it with her boyfriend,
Okay.
whom she did not have. So
Okay.
So she's like, best friend, come over here and pretend to be my boyfriend.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, based on the vibes, I was like, okay, I think this sounds fun.
It sounds like it would be like a light-hearted romance read.
Yeah, but the problem is that there was just too much, like, A, nothing happened, but B, of
course,
the girl is just sabotaging the relationship so hard. Like, they so clearly have feelings for each other.
Yeah.
And the entire time, she is really the only reason why it's not becoming a thing, even though she really, really likes the guy.
Yeah.
He clearly likes her. Like, obviously, like, if you're friends with someone, you can go out of your way to do nice things for them, but it just felt like he was so there for her that it's like, I think this is more.
Yeah.
And I felt like he was kind of trying to get that vibe across to her, that he kind of liked how things were with her, pretending to date. And she just wouldn't let it happen. And it's so frustrating.
Yeah, even like listening to you kind of explain what this book specifically was about, I was like, okay, like don't love friends to lovers, but I do love a fake dating situation. Like this sounds like reading like the back of the book summary and all of that, like something that I would be kind of into, that I would expect to be like a lighthearted, cute romance book. But then like hearing you talk about it and how like nothing really happens and there's a lot of self-sabotaging, that's like kind of hard to read in a romance as well. So I don't think I would be into it.
Yeah, I feel bad because there's so many people that love these books, but it's just like, I don't get it.
Yeah. So it goes.
So it goes. Sorry, romance girlies.
Sorry, romance girlies.
Love Light Farms.
Sorry,
is
fan
not
fiction
for me.
girlies.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, those are our overrated books. But now let's talk about what really is, I feel like, the sole focus of a lot of these romance books.
Yes.
The tropes.
The tropes. I think this is, I don't want to say like the biggest part of the episode, but I feel like it's always the most like controversial. Like I feel like the ones we come up with are gonna be like the easiest ones to be like, interesting, like for an audience to be like, I didn't feel that way. And I think for sure here with the overrated ones, like I'm looking at our notes right now, and the ones that we picked for our overrated tropes like are definitely gonna be, I think we're gonna get some comment about these.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree.
Do you want to start with yours?
I think we should. I think mine's the maybe easier one to get behind.
That's fair.
in my opinion.
I think mine is gonna be a hot take.
Yours is very controversial. Gotta be honest. Yeah, so my overrated trope is billionaires, which I feel like is not that crazy. Honestly, it kind of surprises me that people really like this trope, because for me, it's just like, I don't particularly hate it necessarily.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, it does nothing for me.
Yeah.
I feel completely unaffected by books that have billionaires in it.
You're not romanced by a man with deep pockets?
It's nice, but it's not adding. I'm like, what does that have to do with their love? I'm sorry.
His wallet, Carly.
Okay, but okay, oftentimes I feel like in these billionaire romances, it's not like they even do anything that fun. Like, okay, if you're using the money to go on fun vacations and whatever.
Fair.
Not to mention, I also am like, billionaires aren't ethical. So...
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, is your boy gonna cure starvation? I don't know.
Like, why does he have $1 billion in this economy?
Yes. Are you gonna solve climate change or not? You're just gonna let it happen? Cool. I don't care. I don't care how much money you have because you're still not using it well.
Okay, yes.
Literally?
Yes.
Okay, so I read a book for my romance book club. I'm in a romance book club, and we read Wild Love by Elsie Silver. And I actually did really like that book. Again, I didn't need him to be a billionaire in it.
Yeah.
It made no difference to me. But it was kind of funny because I rated it 4.5 stars and specifically said something along the lines of, my rating went down by 0.25 stars every time.
Because he's a billionaire?
Well, no. Every time the female main character damaged property. Because, like, there was at one point that, like, they, like, bone on a desk and she, like, pushes the computer off. And I'm like, that's a computer.
But he's a billionaire.
I understand, but I still care about... I'm like, I think
he's a billionaire.
Back to climate change, that's wasteful. Tech waste is real, guys.
I mean, yes.
And same thing, like, she pours paint all over, like, these floors and ruins the fucking floors. I'm like, that's good wood that you just wasted.
Carly's too ethical for us billionaire lovers.
I guess so.
In the realism of, like, obviously, like, living in the world that we live in, you know, of, like, being wasteful. Like, it's hard in a situation like that to not take that into account of, like, of course I wouldn't do that because computers are expensive.
Yes.
But I mean, you know, he's a billionaire and it is like a fiction book, so I guess I get it. But I understand where you're coming from. Yeah. Like, come on.
Like, don't get me wrong. I understand how it's kind of the same way that I referenced that age gap is my underrated trope in the last episode. Do I actually like that in real life? No, not really.
It is that balance of, like, realism and fantasy.
Yeah.
Or, like, fiction,
So
I
it's
guess.
like, I get people kind of liking it in terms of, yes, in this book setting, it's not real, like, it's not a big deal. But I guess it's a little too tied around my values that it's just like,
Fair.
I have a hard time breaking from it.
Fair.
So.
I also understand what you're saying about, like, oh, maybe if they were doing something fun. Because there are a lot of books and billionaire tropes where his only personality is billionaire.
Yeah.
You know, there's not really much else going on other than the fact that our male main character is a billionaire. And, like, our female main character is, like, not.
Yeah, like, exactly.
You know,
it's
like there's not really much else going on, but it's not like he's doing anything about it. Like, it's not like they're going on, like, dates to Paris or, like...
Yeah, getting on a yacht.
Exactly, yeah. There's not really... Or, like you said, like, it's not like he's curing cancer. Like, there's...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, do
so
something.
I understand where you're coming from of, like, a lot of these books just have, oh, he's a billionaire, and we as the readers are just supposed to think that's hot just because we're told he's a billionaire.
Yeah, not to mention...
So I get it.
Honestly, sometimes, for instance, in the Elsie Silver book, it almost feels a little silly, the fact that a guy would be a billionaire and also a good person. Like, I had talked about... Also, again, in the last episode, I talked about The Fine Print by Lauren Ash. Yeah. And literally, as I'm editing that episode, I was like, shit, I talk about that book? I can't bring that up as my overrated book. Because then I would have had, like, a whole theme. But alas. Anyway, like, in a way, even though I don't like that book, I'm like, at least his character makes sense that he's a billionaire because he acts like a billionaire. Like, he feels very not really close to reality and what it's like to not have that amount of money. Basically, but, like, to have a guy that's like, oh, so he's a good guy and he's a billionaire? Where? Show me the receipts.
Right.
Where's this man in real life?
Yes.
I don't believe you.
Yes.
So, you know, at that point, yeah, I think that we're not... I think the problem is that we need to call them fantasy books.
Fair.
That's my hot take.
There you go.
Magical realism?
Billionaires? Fantasy.
Yeah.
Fantasy. Good billionaires? Fantasy. Fantasy.
Yeah.
For sure. That's so funny. I also now, I know I just talked about this, but really I've just been thinking about it more and more. The fact that you bring up that, like, yeah, they're not really doing anything with that money. Whether it's, like, for a cause or for fun at all. And it's always, like, a man. Mm-hmm. That's a billionaire.
Yes.
With it being his only trope. And then a lot of the time, the woman that he's supposed to be in love with is, like, not a billionaire, not only not a billionaire, but like much, much lower than a billionaire.
Yes. Like usually they make a point of like,
she is poor.
she has to be poor.
Yeah.
She has to really need that money. Which again, part of me feels like it's a little bit unethical because like, what if this guy sucks, but she also was kind of like, well, now I'm with a billionaire and I've never had this money like this. Like that's now a factor in the relationship when it shouldn't be.
I get it, girl. Listen, if there are any billionaires out there,
I would love to marry rich. Also,
I can fix you.
Also, I love the point that you made about it's always a man. And it's like, I doubt there's ever going to be a book about two gay people and one of them's a billionaire because the gay people aren't going to write that. I'm never going to find a lesbian billionaire. They're going to be like, billionaires are unethical. And I'm like, I know!
I get it!
But I'm curious because this plays into a different dynamic now when you add gender to it.
I didn't know the billionaire trope was so
problematic.
I just didn't know that there was so much involved with the billionaire trope. You're really opening my eyes.
Guys, think about it. Think about it. That's all I'm going to say. So anyway, that's my hot take of an overrated trope. But this episode is only going to get hotter from here with the takes.
Yeah.
So with that, Sam.
Speaking of my overrated trope, I think, listen, I'm not going to shy away from it. I said what I said. I will say what I'm going to say. Just buckle up and hear me out, okay? Don't say anything until I'm done. My overrated trope is enemies to lovers.
We listen and we don't judge.
We listen and we don't judge. We listen and we don't judge, okay? Now, I do think it's important, disclaimer, that I do like an enemies to lovers, okay? And I do think, we talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the pod, that I think something can be overrated and still be good, you know?
Yes.
Like, I feel like a lot of enemies to lovers stories are really, really good. But I also feel like they're really, really overrated. Like every book, especially like a really popular like book talk book, every book has an enemies to lovers. And it's like, there are other things out there. They don't have to like hate each other and then go from this like really like toxic hating relationship to being like, actually, I'm in love with you. Let's go bone a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
I actually, even though this is your trope, I actually 100% agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's honestly kind of easy, in my opinion. I know that people are going to have their takes, but
of course.
I kind of think it's one that you can get behind just because of the saturation of enemies to lovers books that are out there.
For sure.
Like easily, maybe not every, but almost every romantasy book I feel like is gonna have an enemies to lovers book.
100%.
And to be fair, I do think that is where it thrives the best. I personally do feel like when you introduce enemies to lovers outside of the romantasy world, it then gets a little complicated sometimes.
Yeah.
You kind of, because if you do that, then it's like, okay, you have to now make me believe that this other character isn't actually bad. And that's going to take a lot of work to convince me, because you made it such a point to convince me that these two people are not meant to be together, or like one of them is bad for a certain reason.
Yes.
And so that's a lot of legwork. And if you don't do the legwork well enough, then I'm like, okay, well now you're just with a bad person and I don't like that.
Yes. Honestly, I'm really glad you bring that up, because I agree. I think enemies to lovers works the best in a romantasy setting. But even with that being said, I think there are kind of two camps where we find enemies to lovers. One, they're actual enemies, right? So if you think in like romantasy books, one of them belongs to this like region or race or type of being, and then the other one belongs to a completely opposite or enemy type of race,
like
being
mortals
region
versus fairies.
Yes, exactly. They are enemies. Like these types of people or types of beings are enemies. So they are naturally going to not like each other, and then obviously like the relationship evolves from there. We either have that, or we have this situation where the reader is supposed to believe that they're enemies, but they're not really enemies. It's like, why do they not like each other? For example, in like a workplace situation, like we have two coworkers that are kind of like vying for the same promotion. But they're not really enemies. They're just competing for the same promotion, but previously they didn't really know each other or have any like qualms or errors with the other person, but now I'm made to believe that they supposedly hate each other so much because they are both vying for this promotion.
Yeah.
And then I'm supposed to believe that everything is okay and one of them will give it up for the other person because they're in love.
Yeah.
You know, so I obviously, from everything I've just said, obviously don't like the latter the most, like, because it's least believable to me. But even in either situation, like you were saying, it either doesn't work because it wasn't set up as a proper enemies to lovers, or it doesn't work because you did too good of a job setting it up as like enemies to lovers, and now I believe you're not with a great person.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say that like the second camp of kind of like enemies to lovers, where it's kind of a situation that's pitting them against each other, I'm not as mad about it if they had set it up like earlier in their history. The characters did. Like, I don't like it when it's just I'm randomly introduced to this person, like let's say the female main character is randomly introduced to the male main character in a workplace setting where they're both vying for the same promotion, but they didn't previously know each other. To me, that doesn't make as much sense because you don't have enough history to be enemies. Like, I understand you maybe don't super love that person because you're both vying for the same like well sought after promotion, but I don't believe there's enough hatred there for it to be a really like hot and heavy like enemies to lovers. Because let's be honest, we do like an enemies to lovers because it is kind of hot. Like, it is kind of bad, you know, because it's kind of forbidden.
Yes, for
and
sure.
I feel like you don't have that as much when it's not set up that you were actually like really, really big enemies from the very beginning, if you're just like, you just happen to be put into a situation. But if it's set up beforehand, like you really didn't like this person because, I don't know, what's like something crazy, they like robbed your house.
I was going to say sandwich, but stole your sandwich.
Yeah, something like crazy before, like you already kind of have a little bit of animosity towards them.
Like,
You
he's your
already kind of
Dinkelberg.
Yes, he's your Dinkelberg. You already kind of don't like them, and then you find out that they're also trying to steal your promotion.
Yeah, and then you're like, motherfucker.
But yeah, exactly. Like, I could get behind that, you know? I feel like that's enough of like, okay, the enemies. I feel the enemies. Like, I feel the animosity. It's been building for years. I understand why you don't like this person. But also, it's not so bad in a situation where, like, we take it out of romantasy maybe, right? Where I don't think you're like a bad person. You know? The characters have just had some bad history.
Yeah.
That I feel like is the best kind of combination of all of the aspects of the overarching enemies to lovers umbrella.
Yes, I agree. I agree on that.
Yeah. But again, disclaimer, we do love an enemies to lovers.
Yes, 100%.
100%.
Like,
I love a bad boy.
yeah.
I love an I can fix him boy. As
we
you know.
We know. If anyone's going to fix him.
If anyone's gonna fix him,
It's Sam.
Speaking of enemies to lovers, bad boys.
You know what?
We have another hot take
The takes are getting hotter.
coming your way for our overrated characters. I can go first.
Okay.
With my hot take. So, overrated character. I'm cheating a little bit because I have two overrated characters.
Oh, okay.
But I think they're both like equally overrated. Honestly, I technically kind of have three.
Oh, okay.
They all kind of blend together. It's a
throuple?
love triangle of sorts. A throuple.
Yes.
If you will. Yes. My overrated characters are the throuple from Twilight. It's the Twilight love triangle.
So Edward, Bella,
And Jacob.
Jacob. Me.
Yes.
What's his name? Leo?
And
James?
who's Leo?
Girl, I don't know. I haven't read this book.
That is true. I was a little bit hesitant of doing the Twilight universe / characters because I was like, Carly hasn't read the book, and I really want her to read the book because in a lot of ways I am a big fan. Another disclaimer, even though the Twilight love triangle is my overrated characters, I love the series. I really do. There's like a lot about it. I mean, there's a lot about it that's like questionable, but there's also a lot about it to just like love, even if it's just to like poke fun of. Like, it's a great fandom. Honestly, if you're a part of the fandom, you know what I'm talking about. You get it.
Yeah.
So at first I was like, I don't know if I want to bring this up in this episode because Carly hasn't read the book. We are making plans to get Carly indoctrinated into the fandom.
Yes.
Don't you worry.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. But yeah, because you haven't read it, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to bring this up because I imagine I'm going to be bringing up stuff that you don't really know about.
I think I know kind of the gist. I have an idea of like how things end, at least who ends up with who.
Who ends up with who? Okay.
So, because I saw at least the first 2 movies, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. So you kind of have an idea of what's happening here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know their general vibes. I guess maybe not Jacob as well, honestly, but yeah.
Okay, so obviously, I mean, Bella, human, Edward, vampire, Jacob, werewolf.
Yes.
And then we have the love triangle between them because Bella ends up with Edward. But there is that situation where she like semi gets close to Jacob after her and Edward break up.
Didn't she already know Jacob, right? Like that's where the Bella Loca, where you been? Or something like that?
Yeah.
That's why that gets said, right?
The Bella Loca, where you been?
Isn't that it?
That was beautiful.
So right, they know each other?
Yes. So they do know each other because their dads were friends.
Yes.
Yes. So they do like kind of know each other like before. So Bella's parents are divorced, but before they got divorced, I guess when Bella was a kid, her and Jacob used to like play. So they like kind of like know each other.
So that would be a friends to lovers.
Yes. So there's a little bit of friends to lovers there as well, except, you know, obviously it doesn't work out because Bella does end up with Edward.
Yes.
Spoiler.
As we all know.
Yes.
It's been out for a while.
It's been years, you guys know. Team Edward or Team Jacob? Leave it down in the comments below.
I mean, truly, I think you know, even if you didn't want to. Like, it's so in the main culture if you're our age.
100%.
It is what it is.
100%. And, okay, so with, like, the aspect of, like, are you Team Edward or are you Team Jacob, it's really hard when you dissect the characters to determine whether you are Team Edward or Team Jacob. And I say this because they are both bad choices. Okay?
Oh.
They're both bad choices.
I didn't realize they were that bad.
Yes. And it's really with the way that they're treating Bella and like the whole relationship and romance that you're supposed to believe is behind this. When you really dissect who Edward is as a person and who Jacob is as a person, they're not great. Starting with Edward. Edward believes he's very like monstrous, you know, because he's a vampire.
This is the
he's
skin
like,
of a
this
killer,
is the
Bella.
skin of a killer, Bella. Exactly.
I know my quotes.
Exactly. Yes. So he believes he's very monstrous, very, very soulless, and he is not a human lover. He tries to like stay away from humans as much as possible. Now, how does he end up with Bella, you might ask? He ends up with Bella, I believe, really truly for two reasons. Number one, because her blood is his own personal brand of heroin.
Oh.
That is a quote.
Oh. It's worse when you know it's a quote. It's funny as a joke. It's worse as a quote.
She is so sweet smelling. I'm trying to think of like what exactly is written in the book / the movies that I can remember of like how he describes the way she smells so delicious to him that he cannot stay away.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that because that has nothing to do with her as a person.
No, it doesn't. And he's a vampire, so like...
So problematic.
Yeah.
Man, I'm intrigued to know when she turns into a vampire and I assume doesn't smell like that anymore. Like, does the love last?
Well, so part 2 of 2, he is also in love with her because he can't read her mind. So Edward has a special power where he can read people's minds. And he can't read Bella's. And he is intrigued by that because she's not like other girls.
Of course.
She's not like other girls because he can't read her mind, even though we as the reader know that she is in fact just like other girls, okay?
That is hilarious, honestly.
She is in fact just like other girls because she is just as enamored by Edward as literally everyone else is. Like one of her best friends in the book, her name is Jessica. Jessica thinks all the time about how attractive Edward is and how she would like to be around him, and Edward is so disgusted by that thought.
Is that Anna Kendrick?
It is.
Nice.
Edward is so disgusted by that thought of the fact that Jessica would even want to like be near him or like hug him or like anything like that. Any type of situation where the women are like, Edward, you're so attractive. He is not about it.
But when Bella likes it, it's okay.
And let me tell you, Bella, just like other girls, just like other girls. But Edward can't tell because he can't read her mind.
Oh. So again, doesn't really have to do with her.
Doesn't really have anything to do with her. And those are, I am convinced, the only two reasons Edward is even invested in Bella to begin with.
That is so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Like, I should have expected 2000s romance YA book. Like, yes. This is checking all the boxes. But it's kind of funny to think that that's part of the popularity of it. It's like, oh, okay. Really? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I also...
Not great.
Like, I know that I watched the movie, but I didn't remember that he had any sort of powers. Do they all have powers?
Most of them do. A couple of them don't.
Weird.
But yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, Edward can read people's minds, but he can't read Bella's.
I feel like if I was a kid watching that, I must have interpreted it as he's like, I just can't get a read on you. And I was just like, yeah, her face is always like blank.
It's so hard. Yeah.
It's like,
nope, he really just can't read her mind.
And it's like, oh, literally, I didn't, okay.
Yeah, and that to him is like so alluring, even though he is a self-proclaimed like, no, I am so monstrous, I am so soulless, and I don't like humans, and I don't want to be around humans, but there's just something about you, Bella. There's just something about you, Loca.
Yeah, Loca.
Okay, I guess Loca is like a Jacob thing, which...
Loca's only for Jacob.
Loca is only for Jacob, which, speaking of Jacob, not that much better than Bella. No,
okay.
Edward, sorry. Well...
All of them?
Bella also. We're not talking about Bella in this, but stay tuned for the Twilight segment of the podcast, because we'll have a lot to say about Bella, I'm sure, especially after Carly reads it.
Yes.
But Jacob, not that much better than Edward.
Okay.
So Jacob really comes into the picture in the second Twilight book, New Moon, after Edward breaks up with Bella. So an incident happens with Edward and his vampire brother and Bella, where she kind of gets a cut and he kind of goes manic for the blood because he's a vampire.
Because he's a fucking vampire.
Of course, exactly. And Edward is so torn up about putting Bella in danger that he just leaves. And Bella, at this point, has known him for months and is already so attached to him that she cannot stand not being with Edward. So she's kind of bumming around her house, you know. And her dad insists that she gets out of the house and kind of hangs out with her friends. And she ends up kind of doing that. And one of the main reasons that she does end up leaving the house and kind of getting some socialization is because she starts talking a lot more to Jacob. So her and Jake kind of form a little bit of a friendship. And we get to a point where Jacob is like, this is a date. Like, yes. He's like, why can't you be with me? And he knows as well that Edward is a vampire.
Yeah.
Because of his history, his family history with being a werewolf. So it's like a lineage thing that's passed down in his tribe. So he knows all of these things about Edward, and he's like, Bella, you shouldn't be with Edward. You should be with me.
Yes,
you should be with me. And it gets to a point where there's a little bit of force there. There's a little bit of like, Jacob, you need to back up a little bit.
Oh my God.
Like, there are situations where Jacob is like, Bella, you clearly are not making the right decision. Like, you don't know what you want. Like, Bella, you don't know what's good for you. Bella, I am the one that you should be with.
You don't tell me what I want.
Yes. Yes. There is even a situation where there is a manipulative kiss at play, where Bella and Jacob share a kiss that isn't entirely mutual.
Oh.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, in the books, it kind of plays out as honestly like Jacob being a lot more forceful than he needs to be / should. He feels as though he has this sort of like entitlement over Bella, but not because he's with her, but because he believes that he is better for her than Edward is.
I don't like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of possessiveness going on. And both of the male main characters have that. Like, Bella doesn't really have a choice as much in the matter. It seems like, at least when the two male main characters are, like, talking about why they should be with Bella.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more of it, obviously, from Jacob's side because he's not the one that's actually with her. But he's very judgmental of her choices when it comes to being with Edward.
Wow. So we have Edward on one side who is like kind of objectifying Bella in a way, in like a weird way, but in his like vampire way.
Yeah.
And then we have Jacob on the other side who, I mean, they're both possessive, but he is in particularly kind of controlling and judgmental and toxic.
Yep.
And these are our options.
And these are our options. And these are our options. And our girl Bella really, I mean, she's a character all on her own.
Do you remember how old Bella is when Twilight starts?
17.
So like what? She's 19 when she gets married to
Yes.
Edward?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Perfect time.
I mean, they're children.
Yeah.
Jacob is 16. Edward.
He's younger?
Yes. Edward is
Obviously.
17 for how long? How long have you been 17?
So many lines. It's like they wanted us to make fun of it later.
They did this on purpose.
They did this on purpose. You made it embarrassing on purpose. That is so funny.
Yeah, there's a lot going on at play. And like I said, Bella in herself, just like touching on that real quick, also just isn't the best judge of character. Like there are moments where she's with Edward and Edward is very monstrous and he's like, Bella, this is the skin of a killer. Bella, like, don't be with me. I've killed people. And she's like, I don't care. And then there are situations when she finds out that like Jacob is a werewolf, you know, also kind of monstrous in his own way. And she's like, Jacob, that's insane. You've killed people.
Bella! The double standard.
Our girl Bella. I can't wait for you to get into it.
Me too. I'm like, I feel like honestly, part of me is like, I'm really intrigued by New Moon in particular. I want to get into the Jacob weirdness of it all. But baby steps, I guess.
Baby steps.
We'll get there.
Baby steps. And again, disclaimer, don't get me wrong. I am a part of the Twilight fandom for sure. But when we take these character behaviors like out of context, like out of the world of Twilight, like if you were to write these characters in a book in this day and age,
yeah, honestly,
excuse me?
I kind of wonder if any of this would have flown in this day and age.
Yeah.
Like if this would have been popular at all. And it's crazy too because I mean there are so many people who still to this day are like huge Twilight people.
Yes.
Like I know so many people who like reread Twilight regularly and stuff like that. And it's kind of people that I, to be honest, would be a little surprised.
Yeah.
Knowing who they are now and what kind of behavior they would accept now and knowing the behaviors that you just described, it's like,
yep.
So it's just out of nostalgia, right?
Yeah. I mean, when you really dive in deep, I swear Twilight could be taught in literature. I know we don't consider it as like a book that you can do literary analysis on, but you are wrong. You 100% can. Like, there's a lot of misogyny in the book. There's a lot of this like idea of monsters and how we classify monsters. That's like a whole other topic of, are they monsters just because they're vampires? What about like their attitudes and their personalities? Like there are a lot of different topics that you could have like real discussions about like in like an AP Lit class for sure.
For sure. I actually think that we have a friend of the podcast who they have a whole podcast dedicated to Twilight and kind of, I mean, I haven't listened because I haven't read Twilight yet, so I kind of don't want to touch it until I know more about the world.
Oh, we'll get there.
Yes. But Exploring the Meadow podcast, I believe, goes in deep. I mean, not terribly deep. I think they have nice little bite-sized episodes, so
yes.
If you ever want to explore that, they're out there.
Yes.
But
and maybe check back in with us and with them for a potential collab when we get to our Twilight segment.
Yes, I would love to talk to them more about Twilight once I got the scoop.
Oh, I would too. I need some more in-life Twilight talk in my life. I mean, I know there was a lot of it here, and obviously a lot of it is like very problematic from what I have explained to you, but there's just so much more to dive into. Carly, I seriously can't wait until you get into it.
I'm excited.
I seriously can't wait.
Agreed. Now, with that being said, next hottest take?
Yes.
If
you thought my take was hot, Carly's coming in a little bit hotter with another pretty popular fandom character.
And I have the book here.
Here we go.
My overrated character is Rhysand from ACOTAR. And
I swear I just felt like the audience gasp.
Maybe. I do think, to be fair, I do think that there has been a bit of a step back from the Rhysand obsession in the book community after Silver Flames. I think there was quite a shift in seeing the kind of person that Rhysand is once we are out of Feyre's POV. But even before then, I mean, don't get me wrong. When I was reading ACOTAR, I did really like Rhys. I literally, remember, full spoilers on the series, but I full-on cried when Rhysand died for like 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. I did really like Rhysand in the moment, but I also was kind of aware that there are just certain characteristics about Rhysand that I was like, he's not exactly the kind of character that I typically would really like. With, for instance, one of my number one book boyfriends being Xaden. I like that Xaden's a lot more brooding and mysterious and maybe a little bit on the quieter side. I don't know. Like, Rhysand's very jokey, you know?
Yeah.
Not to mention, after our 1-star review game that we played, there were some certain things that were pointed out that I was like, is this a little problematic?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you think a little too hard about the whole, like, everything that happens in the first book and then him kind of explaining those behaviors in the second book, it's like, are we kind of just washing away everything and not really acknowledging in full that maybe still some of those behaviors in the first book were not really cool? Mm-hmm. I like Rhysand, but he does not stick out to me as, like, my favorite book boyfriend. But then furthermore, I mean, and again, I think this is where a lot of people who were maybe even full sent on the Rhys train took a step back in Silver Flames. Being in Nessa's POV definitely changes some things, and you really realize, like, maybe we did have a bit of rose-colored glasses when we were perceiving Rhys and all of his characteristics, because he definitely can be mean, basically. And granted, I guess that's something we kind of knew about him. He's technically a morally gray character, but I do feel like it's kind of sweetened a lot in the normal ACOTAR series.
And I bet, like, I haven't read Silver Flames, so I'm not entirely sure, like, everything that happens in Nesta's book and, like, her story, and specifically with talking about Rhysand, how she views Rhys. But I bet it is, like, very interesting seeing him from the perspective of a character that is not in love with him.
Yes.
I, for one, have never really been that big of a Rhys fan, to be honest. Buckle your seatbelt, Carly. I have never really been that big of a Xaden fan either. And it's not that I, like, don't like Xaden. I've honestly, in the past, have kind of put them in, like, similar camps. But honestly, I think it's just because they're both supposed to be, like, you know, tall, dark-haired, muscular shadow daddies. I do agree that Rhys is a little bit more problematic than Xaden is. Not that Xaden doesn't have his problematic moments.
Yeah.
But I do think there's slightly more justification on Xaden's part. And there are moments where we see Xaden make mistakes more and own up to things a little bit more than, from what I remember from both of the series, than you see Rhys doing in the ACOTAR series.
Yeah. I think it also kind of boils down to, as well, the sort of different, I don't know how you would word it, but, you know, like, Feyre, when she's coming to Rhys from Tamlin, her big thing is, like, choice, right? And kind of, like, freedom. And with Violet and Xaden, Violet's whole thing is that she wants to be sort of respected without shadow from her family, without shadow of, like, her chronic illness and all that sort of stuff. And Xaden's like, no, she can do everything that we can.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I think that that also maybe plays into certain things, like the sort of message that they're sending. And so maybe that's also a thing that it's like, personally for me, choice is maybe not something that I'm, like, super high on, because I'm maybe kind of independent of a person, whereas, like, the things that Xaden kind of makes a point of are problems that I have. So it's like, I think that kind of also can play into it.
But even when we're talking about choice, there are situations in which Rhys doesn't necessarily give everybody a choice in the books. Like, there are situations where, say, like, how he takes care of Feyre's sisters, you know, post Cauldron, and, like, the freedoms that they're allowed. And obviously they have just gone through something really traumatic. So of course they're going to need a little bit more hand-holding, and of course they're going to need to maybe be told a little bit more what is best for them to an extent. But, you know, it's still this same idea of, is Reese really giving everybody a choice? Like, is he really a pro-choice kind of guy, or is it just for Feyre? And is it just because she's his mate? And is it just because she has previously gone through something very traumatic with her ex-boyfriend, Tamlin, not giving her any sort of choice?
Yeah.
Right? I feel like we say that Reese is pro-choice, but there are situations in which he is very controlling, and there are situations in which he is like, I am the High Lord. Like, you must listen to what I say, regardless of how often he tries to come across as a man of the people.
Right. 100%. And honestly, I think that another reason why people kind of detract from him a bit in Silver Flames is because I don't think this is a huge spoiler that Feyre is pregnant in that book.
Yeah.
And I think a big issue is that Reese kind of finds out that Feyre's pregnancy and labor is most likely going to be lethal. And he finds that out and then doesn't tell Feyre. And so it's very interesting. Like, obviously, it's not exactly that he just is doing it with malice exactly or anything, but I think he feels very torn up about it. And I understand how that is a bit of like a harder choice to decide, like, do I tell her? But for someone who, like, their whole thing is choice, it does seem like the obvious thing to do would be to tell her, so she has the choice of, like, I don't remember the world and if, like, abortions are a thing.
Sure, yeah.
But, like, in general, based on, like, how
if lactose intolerance is a thing.
Yes. Yes. It just seems like it would be only fair to know, like, at least how you're going to continue to live your life.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that is a huge point of contention where it's like, that's a huge deal. Why would you keep that a secret?
Yes.
And not to mention the way that he treats Nesta. Like, I understand that a lot of people, you know, Nesta is a very polarizing character. She has a lot of history. But I do kind of still think that the way that he treats Nesta in particular, it really assumes the worst. Basically, like, she's making friends of her own, and he's like, be nice to that person. And it's like, yeah, I wasn't being mean. Like, take a step back. It's not your job to police me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you in terms of the fact that he can be overrated, because we can, as a fandom, kind of pretend that stuff doesn't matter, or kind of forget about it in terms of this very, like, suave, charming, slightly cocky, very confident, and, like, alluring High Lord.
Yes, agreed.
Those were our extremely hot takes.
Yeah.
Don't come for us, okay?
Yeah. Honestly, if you're still listening, we still have more about Summer of Love to tell you about.
Yes.
If you're willing to stick around.
Yes.
So we do have one more book club episode left of the Summer of Love. Mm-hmm. And in it, we are going to be talking about The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I feel like in the last episode, when we first mentioned this last book for the Summer of Love, we did the same thing where we were like, is it Poston? And then we had said, we'll look it up before we have to say it again. We didn't.
But that's the book.
But we have one more episode to figure it out, guys.
Yes, we have one more episode. Maybe we'll finally get it.
Yes.
In the next episode. That episode will be coming out August 26th, Tuesday. So make sure to mark your calendars for that, for the end game of our Summer of Love.
Yeah. It's coming to an end. But we had so much fun with Summer of Love. I feel like this will probably be a reoccurring thing. I know. I'm really looking forward to this in the future. Yes. It's been a really fun Summer of Love. We still will also have one more off-the-shelf episode as well after. Yeah. But unfortunately, we are coming to an end, and then we'll be going into our fall programming, which includes... well, we'll find out. Other things. Not romance, but other things. Make sure to follow us on social media, actually, for some of the other things. We always try and keep our most updated episode schedule on there. So if you're ever curious, check us out at the Read Receipts Pod on social media. Yeah. Thanks for listening to our latest episode of our hit podcast, Read Receipts with Carly and Sam. All of the content that you hear in this episode is curated, recorded, and edited by us truly, with special thanks to the authors of the books that we read and Pixabay for the music that we play. Make sure to subscribe to the pod wherever you like to listen, and for more of our content in between shows, make sure to follow us at the Read Receipts Pod on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. We really enjoy it when we see you guys follow us on there. We love
responding to your comments. We love seeing your likes. So please, please, please follow along. Until our next read. Bye.